So the business that we work in is the defense and federal government space. We've been working with both DoD and U.S. federal governments for 15 years. And one of the problems that they have is they have these huge portfolios. They're one of the biggest buyers and investors in technology in the world. And they don't have a way to tell their story about what their 30-year roadmap. And the problem started with Congress saying to the Pentagon, I don't believe you have a strategy. I'm not going to send more money unless you can prove to me that you really do have a strategy. And communicating those in PowerPoints and slides and PDFs and Excel spreadsheets and all of those things wasn't getting the story across. It was a massive manpower effort to organize all of the data that needed to be put together to tell this story. And there was lots of errors with the data.
Sure.
And being able to have our stories change live as the data changed and then get feedback was a huge win and a massive cost savings for the government. The thing about SharpCloud that was unique and that we found set it aside from the other products was its ability to be data-driven. Instead of sort of these disparate pieces of information that existed all across our enterprise, that we could have the data drive the presentation tool and then be able to morph the presentation into different streams. So because it is live and data-driven, it's not snapshots. And then a really, really unique thing that set it way apart for us was the ability to have a walkthrough of the presentation, to give that to a senior guy who really doesn't know all of the details, and he wants to be able to just hit next, bring a couple of subject matter experts with him, and when these other questions come up, he can stop right there and go down a separate path and defer to his subject matter experts. Well, we didn't find anything else that even came close to doing that. And we found that when we would present our information to our stakeholders, they were sort of enthralled by this idea that this wasn't just a series of slides, that this was data that they could go down another path. In fact, they became so captivated with the presentation tool that that they were happy, that even if we were presenting bad news, they were still really excited about what they were saying, and that's always good when we present bad news in a way that our customers are still happy. One of the big outcomes of using the SharpCloud product that was, I guess, unexpected is that we find our stakeholders and the people that we're presenting our roadmaps and strategy to, that they have more trust in it because of the fact it's data-driven, and it wasn't somebody just saying, hey, I don't like the way that slide looks, change that slide. When we can show them the connections and all that is built into the dynamic environment of SharpCloud, that we find that they trust what they're being presented with more, because nobody wants to change the root data just to fib the story. And that's what people tend to do in the past, and they'll blame it on, oh, I'm sorry, this slide is just out of date. And so it keeps us honest, and it has a lot of trust factor with the people that we need to impress and our stakeholders. The reaction that we get now when we started showing our stories in SharpCloud is that people don't start their session with you by looking to see what the slide count is. I'd always noticed that people would immediately start scanning the PowerPoint presentation to see if they could figure out how many slides they were about to be killed with. And going, oh gosh, we're only 4 out of 30, this is going to be a long, painful process. But instead, they're so engaged with the depths and the layers of the SharpCloud story that they're actually listening to the content of what's being told. We have a lot of guys that aren't such exciting speakers, and they speak in a very monotone way. That they're just not those guys and gals that speak in a way that really captures the audience. So in those cases, we have to rely on the visuals to do that and to make this connection. And we found that in the past, there just wasn't this, people weren't connecting what was being said with what was being seen. And now we find that they are. And we think that's mostly just from a point of view of attention. We've been able to hold their attention long enough to listen to what we're trying to say. And that's a huge win for us.